running for animating in Houdini, and specifically the Apex toolset that we have. Now, this is assuming that you already know how to animate, that it's just you've never used Houdini to animate. So we're going to start the basic just with the setup right now to get in there for how you would start just by opening Houdini for the first time. Now, the first thing I do is I have a different setup for my desktop that I have. If you hit D, this will open up your display options. And you can see there's background. There's a few different color schemes. I like dark gray. And then for the grid, I like to turn my grid off. I don't like to see the grid. And that's generally what I do. The other thing is, once you get it all set up, you have your animation editor here if you want. You can put that over. But once you have that set up, your desktop the way you like it, you can save it out. And in this case, I have one called Warren 2 that I'm just going to go into now. So the first thing we'll do, and we're going to be in object level here, we're just going to hit tab and just type GEO, and you can see the geometry comes up, the first one, and you hit enter, and you can just drop that right down. And I'm just going to call this animation. And what I like to do, I just have a few lights that I've copied from another thing, just so I can have some shadows in my setup as I work along. So the first thing we're going to do is double click onto this animation. And now here we are now inside the object level and in the geometry node. So what I'm going to do first of all is we're going to type, hit tab and type ELE, and we can see something called Test Geometry Electra. So this is what we're going to be using for our demo purposes. And this is a character that's been rigged in Apex. So we have the character here set up, and we're going to go over a few things. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to hit tab and type CIR and get a circle. And I'm just going to drop that over here. And if we look up here, we can hit P in this window, and this will bring up our parameters. But I also have a tab here called circle, and I could do this, and I'm just going to switch it to the YZ. And you can see we don't see it here, and that's because our display is on the Electra. So if I switch the display here, now we can see the difference between what's going on. I'm just going to increase the divisions on this, and we'll just leave it as default for now. So the one thing you probably want to do is you want to be able to see the difference, the two things, objects at the same time. So what I do for this is if you click on this, this will give you a template. But if you control click on it, now you can see it set up there. So let's get back to our Electra. So, and I just use this so I get rid of that ground plane and I have something that now I could see my shadows on there. And if you want to, this would be the little button that you look at that you could turn off specular, ambient. A lot of times I turn off specular. I just like the flat kind of matte look a little bit more. And then we could go from here. So from Test Geometry Electra, the one thing we're going to go into our parameters is the output. And this is because it's used for different departments and everything. In our case, we're going to put on Apex character. The next thing we're going to do is hit tab, and we're going to type in SCE. And you can see we have a bunch of Apex options here. And I'm going to do scene add character, Apex scene add character, drop that down. And then before I do anything else, I'm going to hit tab again, type in SCE again, and we're going to do the scene animate. And this is where we're going to be doing all of our Apex animation, because this is where our Apex character and the tool sets for animating live. So when we're here, what we can do right now is we just start attaching these. So if I just plug this from this left side into the right side, and then this orange into the orange here. And you'll see this flow working as we go on to more complex scenes with other characters and other objects. So the first thing I'm going to do is the scene add character. I'm just going to change this. And this is just for naming. So I'm just going to call it Electra. And if we click on here, we can see there's just this little script in here so that it takes this name and puts it in here. But if you want, you can right click on this and you can delete these channels. from here, and then you could just type the name in your set. You can type the name in here instead of using the outside one. I just generally do this, but there are instances where we want to change this name in here specifically. So there we go. Now this is the general setup for using Apex. You have your character, you're adding the character, and then you have your scene animate that you're going to add on there. And there's two ways we can actually go into the scene animate. And I'm just going to switch the display to this. Now there's two different ways that we could do it. What we can do is we can just have our cursor in the viewport and we could hit enter. And that will go on there. And the reason that there's two is they behave just slightly differently. So when I hit enter in here, it's just using this whatever node I'm selecting on. So if I select my circle, say I want to make the circle bigger. If I select this, you can see it's actually taken me out of the animation state. And now I can do the uniform scale on here and do this. But and then when I click back in, I'm back in the animation state. However, when I'm animating, generally I don't want to leave the animation state at all. So if I just hit escape, we'll get out of there. And now the other thing, what we could do is we can click on this little puppet icon here. And now when we select the circle, we can get all of the parameters that we need to do on here. So we could just change the scale as we want in here, but we're still in the animation state. So this is generally the way I work. And the other way, it has properties when you're switching between things quite a bit, but this way I like to just stay in my animation state and still have access to all the parameters in the SOPs that we can work with. So from here, that is essentially the basic start of everything. Again, we can just go in, we create an object, we go into there, we have our test geometry Electro, we switch it to character, and we also have the shader here if you want to switch it to metallic. We'll leave it on wooden right now. We do the scene add character, and then we go into our scene animate, and then we can start animating in here, doing everything that we want from here. Next, we're going to start taking a look at our selection sets and how we can set up our scene to begin with so that we're able to be faster, be able to use more tools, and have some more options as we start. So now we're going to take a look at something called selection sets. And these are more than just being able to select things and make the life easier. There's also our display group and our channel pinning for our channel scoping. So the one thing you'll notice up here is you may not have all these folders that I do. What it is here, we'll just take a look at selection sets. I'm just going to close this down. And what you can do to bring them up so that they have easy access is if you hit this little plus sign, you go new pane type, and then you can go to animation and Apex selection sets. You can click that on, and if you want to, you can move it to the beginning here. And there we go. Now we have that selection sets available to us. Now, you also notice that we have HUD right here for selection sets that we'll take a look at after. But when we're setting them up, there's more options in the actual pane than our heads-up display that we have in our viewport. So we'll get to this in a moment. So the first thing I want to do is if I wanted to set up a set so I can grab all of our fingers, and if I go in here, I can right-click and create set from selected. And in here, if I double click on it, I can type in L_fingers. Now, what I normally do, just to make it easier on me, is we can hide the controls here. We can also change the display of the character, hiding that at all, but I'm just going to turn these off. So I could see what I've already done. They're no longer visible there. And so if I wanted to do the arm, let's just select this whole arm here. I'm going to right click in here and go again, create set from selected, and I'm going to call this left arm. And you can just decide however you want it. I like naming this with a capital L or a capital R underscore and then what it is in here. And what we can do now is if we wanted to, we can right click on there and create an empty set. And I'm going to call this L underscore, and just to name it differently, I'm just going to call it full arm. So instead of me selecting things and doing it here, let me just turn these off so we can see that that's been done. And actually I missed one in here. What we could do is we could select it, and then we can go into the arm, and we can right click on there, and we can go to add selected to set, or you can remove it if you wanted to as well. And now if we turn this on and off, now that's part of it there. And if we open this up, we can also see these are all the controls that are in there. So you can always take a look and see what's in there, and this will be useful later on when we start setting up a primary control. So as I said, I have my left arm, left fingers, and I have an empty set here. So instead of me selecting, if I wanted that full arm, instead of me selecting the fingers and the arms and making a whole new one, what I could just do is control select these, and then I could just drag it in. And now I have the folder in there, so I have my full arm, so when I select it and I turn this on, they all come on. But we still have the individual groups in here as well. Now, I could go through here and do the exact same thing for the right side, but what we can also do here is take a look at our mirror. So if we click on the mirror, we go Edit Mirror Remap Patterns. And what this is generally, depending on what your studio's naming convention are. Some studios have the capital L, some have LT. It all depends on there. What I normally do for Electra is I just type star wildcard, so it's everything before underscore R underscore L and then everything after. And this just sets it up per your studio, however it is. And the Electra set up this way, so you can just do this, hit OK. Now the next thing we could take a look at is Edit Set Name Remap Patterns. And what this is like I said, I like to name it capital L underscore and then something. If you have a different naming convention you like, you just small L do it, you could do that as well. But you can see my sets all have capital L on here. And so this would be right. So I'm going to mirror from the left side to the right side with my naming here. Now, with this selected, what I could do is go mirror, mirror selected sets. And you can see it's created an R full arm there. So it's just mirror the sets. You can see they're selected, and if I turn these off, they're now turned off. And if you look inside, it's also changed the name for the individual pieces in there as well. So really quickly, we've been able to mirror it. So you could do the same thing for the legs, and then obviously there's no L and R for the center of the spine and everything. So there we go. We have that all set up. Now you don't want to be doing this every single time you start a shot. So what we have here is we can take these sets, and if I wanted to, I can create another empty set, and I can just call this Electra. And then I could take these two in here and move them all in here. And now I just have the one set in here, but if you open it up, you have all the pieces inside. So if I want to, I can select this, and I can go File, and I can go Export Sets to File. So once you have it set up once, you're done with it, you got your setup, you can just save it out. And then if you want to, what we can do is import sets from File. And here I have my selection sets set up. There's Electra version 7 sets that I have. And I could just select on that, hit Insert, and then I could select the characters to apply it to. Now if I click on this, you can see my Electra character, and that's because I named it Electra here. So if I named it something else, it would have a different name here. Now I can click on that, hit accept, and you can see it's made an Electra 2 that I have. I should have deleted this one first, but you can select this, right click on it and delete set. And if I wanted to, I could just double click on this and just get rid of that too, so we have that naming. So now we have our selection set set up. This is the way I have it set up, and you can keep on growing it as you want depending on your shot. But we can go over this in the next little bit as we start walking through how to use your selection sets now that they've been all set up.